Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you for joining today again, despite the low turnout. So I'd like us to just round things up here. So for today, yesterday, we went through more of like a crash course and I also like perform some analysis using SPSS. We looked at independent sample t-test. We also looked at ANOVA correlation, which could apply to regression analysis. And we looked at the views, the data view, the variable views, the output views, and the syntax dialog where you can write syntax. So we didn't really touch on the syntax part, which is what I'd like us to just do today, and we round up the class. So for this part, I have a project here, as you can see here. So this is like a final year project, although limited, but in this case, we have the chapter one here, and we have the statements of problem, we have the aims and objectives of the project. So if you can see here, if you look carefully, it's kind of related to the data we're looking at yesterday. So once you look at it, say the student or the person in question wants to like describe the demographic and characteristics of the student sample. That could actually be done with descriptive statistics, right? And to examine relationship between study hour, sleep, and academic performance, which could be GPA or exam scores, how these two relates, how these two part here, how this part here relates with these other variables here. And then we want to check for the impact of anxiety and academic satisfaction, student performance, and so on and so forth. We also have some research questions which we are seeking to answer. Then we have some hypotheses which we're also looking to see if this should be accepted or rejected. So we have about four hypotheses written. Uh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So given this, um, in the chapter two, which we actually have to do the thing here, so I'll skip this. Then we have the chapter three here, which is very crucial in the sense that it directs which direction our analysis would go. So we have the variables here, which we already have seen this yesterday. So we have the study hours per week, we have the sleep hours per night, and gender, age, faculty, and then hypothesis, which we already declared, and then we'll go to our methods, which we're planning to use in today's class. So let's send out the bit. So we want to use these methods to actually check. We want to use descriptive statistics, correlation analysis, t-test, one-way ANOVA, multiple linear regression, and yeah, and this. So now, mostly you already have this already in your final year project before you progress to analysis, right? And once you have this declared, then you know which direction you will be heading towards. So given this, now we're going to make use of this in two ways. Like what we did yesterday, where we were doing this, because already yesterday we've done this analysis yesterday. We've done the description of distance, correlation, t-test, ANOVA, except for the regression aspect. So this thing has already been done yesterday during the class. And this today we want to like finalize this part. We want to have a chapter 4. So how do we get this chapter 4? How do we make this analysis? That is the crux of the matter for today's class. So to do this, I'd like it to be in two phases. Okay. So the first phase is we uh, showing some magic such that we will perform analysis using syntax. And after we do that, then we'll go through this PowerPoint as quick as possible to look how we can actually learn how to do this uh, analysis. This is syntax by anime. So before I do that, let me launch the SPSS. Okay, I have that being launched. So while that is loading, I'd like us to talk about syntax. So what we know start by syntax. If you recall yesterday, anytime we perform an analysis in the SPSS, we tend to have this output view, which I will show you shortly. So when this output view comes up, you find this kind of writing be written on the screen, which I'll still show you shortly. So this writing tends to contain some kind of syntax, which allows you to perform analysis in SPSS without you going to click icons or navigate with the GUI, the graphical user interface. So this just allows us to like just use more of like code to like perform analysis. So that you shouldn't be frightened, okay? I have to start learning this code from scratch now. There are easier ways of way doing this analysis. Like I said in the group, we can actually perform this analysis just within 10 minutes with the tools we have in this page. So for instance, let me load this data here. I'll import the data we used yesterday. So I'll come here. So you can see what you just have here in this output view is a syntax. All these things here are more like the code being used to actually run the analysis. So this syntax here actually does what? It imports the CSV with some configuration and some overwriting of the dataset name and other configurations that are actually done with this syntax. So this, the way this syntax looks like. And if you copy everything we have here, let's say we copy this, how we will copy this, yeah. You right click and you copy this and you paste it to a new SPSS environment with these data sets being in the same location and you run it, you're going to have the same output. So how do you run a syntax? That's simple. To run a syntax, you go to this. How can I move this? To run a syntax, you go to File here, and you click on New. You go to New, and after overrun, you click on Syntax. So you have this view here where you can actually type in your syntax, and once you do that, you highlight it and then click on this play button. So we'll come back to this in a jiffy. So now let's do something here. Some quick configuration, which I've already explained yesterday. I don't think I have to go over that again. Okay, I think we are good to go. I already explained this during yesterday class, and if you missed it, you can um check out our video on day one on how to make this configuration. So given this, I'll just save this as under this place. I'll call it analysis two. I'm just call it analysis two in this case. Now, good. Now, given that we have all these set in place, now it's time for me to write some syntax. But I actually gave you a promise that, okay, we're going to perform some analysis within just 10 minutes. So I'd like us to show us how we can actually do that. Now, if you had any information of me, you would have known that, okay, I actually do things with AI and yeah, frankly, it increases one productivity, but if you're against it, you can actually just watch as we do something. So right here, I'll go to this platform. So actually, you can use what you want to use. Maybe you want to use chat, GPT, Claude, Gemini, or whatnot. You're actually free to use what you want to use. So now what I'll do is that I like us to take this word we have here, right? Take this word we have here, then I'll export this as PDF. So just export this as PDF and save it as project.pdf. So we have this exported. And so what I'll do here is that while I'm here, I'll just go to the project place and click here and I'll drag this. That's the project. Sorry. I'll drag this and move it to this place. And that should load and turn to some tokens. So this has been extracted. And the next thing I will do is to import some data sets. You can go and drag it, or you can just click here, go to downloads, and then we can look for, I think, what's the name again? Um, Let me see. Okay, let me just go up and see. Okay, this. Then we have this imported. So now, what I'll just type here, I'll just type in some prompts here. So I'll just something like Zoom, the data set is imported, which I've already done, right? In an SPSS environment. If all full syntax we can run analysis. That's match the project document. So the reason why I'm actually having this as what's the name as a PDF is because many of this platform tends to just support PDF. So right here, this platform I'm using the Gemini 3 Pro preview. And I think they have the latest one, 3.1. So you can actually switch to that if you want to. The reason why I tend to use this AI Studio because the models here, I don't know, they're less nerved on this platform compared to the one on the Gemini.google.com, which tends to perform poorly. So we have this code here, this syntax here. So I'll just copy it. Now in SPSS, any line that starts with an asterisk, the star sign, is a comment. So all these parts are ignored by the program itself. So the ones without the star like this are actually the main code. So I'll get back to this place and go back to this syntax environment. So let me have this in the background. So we have this. Then I paste, sorry. Okay, now let me paste in the code here. Now, if we go up now, this thing we have here actually kind of easy to read and understand. So something of this sort, we have the labels, which yesterday, if you recall, I talked about labels, but like human readable names, for instance. Something like come here, something like gender could have been something like what is your gender? So that's actually more understandable than just gender. So the code in this case is trying to like give all of these labels. So we have student gender. So we can just maybe say this could be what is your gender? We have this, we have the student age, we have the faculty, and all these labels actually assigned to this. And then the values for the gender are also given labels. Normally in the data we only have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what does this one mean? Male, female? That all depends on you. But yesterday we actually made the 1 to stand for female and the 2 to stand for male. Now one thing you should look here, you should always notice that from year to year, from year to year, there's a procedure, right? Because the procedure. Now, once you look at this place, you can see that it always ends with what? A dot at the end. In some conventional programming language, let's say in C++, it tends to use things like semicolon, right? Why something like Python don't even have anything that demarcates that that's the end of an expression. But in SPSS, there's a full stop at the end of an expression that shows that from year to year is a single expression that differs from what we have here. So there's always a full stop at the end here. Then the faculty. Yesterday we performed the ANOVA analysis. We recall that we had 4 faculties, right? So let's just edit this faculty here. Let's call this SPS, School of Physical Sciences. Let's call this SLS. Let's call this SICT. And let's call it what other department do we have? Sorry. Someone should give me the faculty, please. Hello.
HTM.
H.
So that's hospitality and tourism management.
HTM.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have HTM here. And then we have some, like yesterday again, when I talk about the satisfaction, which are ordinal level data, we have some values like, I think the values should be from, let's check satisfaction. Yeah, from 1 to 5. I think. So each of these are given labels, although you actually do this manually, yeah. But the point of the syntax is to automate the procedure, right? So we don't have to do this manually. So we have all these sets and all this analysis. Yes, for descriptive statistics, where we have the frequency by gender, by faculty. And if you recall, this gender and faculty are actually nominal data, right? So it makes sense to use frequencies for them. And while this one that are continuous, like age, study hours per week, study hours, anxiety scores, satisfaction, actually makes sense to use statistics like mean, standard deviation, the minimum, the maximum, because these are like above. Sorry, we have this hypothesis which want to check if there is no significant relationship between study hours and per week and the student GPA. So one way to do this actually to use correlation analysis. So when we go back to the syntax, we can see that we're doing some kind of correlation here between these variables here, study hours and anxiety score satisfaction with what with the GPA exam score and some other tests here which we've actually done yesterday uh, annually. So if you missed yesterday class, you could actually just check out the YouTube video which we've uploaded and go through it. So now, once we have this, you can just Control A, highlight everything because we want to like run everything. So we'll highlight everything and then we click on this. We click on this. Now you can see the analysis coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. You see, right? So we have this, all the code operating for this part one. So we have the frequencies, up the frequency table, we have the male, female. In this case, since we made the female one this time around, the male one this time around, you can see that the male has more like frequency. We have the faculty of study, SPS, SLS, and just looking at it, we can see that the SPS has more cases in these data sets. So, but I think they are kind of fairly distributed except for the SICT. And then we have the statistics. You can see the standard deviation. We can see the mean. We can see the maximum. And yeah, you should understand what these values mean though. But if you don't, no issue. For the correlation, we can see some significant correlation between the GPA and the weekly study hours. So the more you study per week, the more your GPA increases, which actually makes sense. Although this correlation is kind of a bit low, but it's still significant. 3 is significant, although not as significant as something like 0.7. So zero point 0.3 is actually significant. It shows that, okay, perhaps maybe other factors could still contribute to GPA increment. We have the average nightly sleep. So yes, you're right. This is a negative correlation between these, but it's not as significant. So that was not something of interest. And I think what is of interest here is just the study hours and the GPA. So we can still actually use this to actually write a report. Okay, we didn't find any relationship between anxiety and GPA. So that's in the case of these data sets. So different data set or a different study could actually bring up something else. We have the t-test, which we have explained yesterday on how to interpret this. Given that this is greater than 0.05, we use this upper row, and given that the sigma is greater than 0.05, we kind of say, okay, we failed to reject the null hypothesis in this case. So we have all this analysis done from what we generated, and down here, down here, down here, model summary, and okay, we have the charts, the graphs done. Yeah, we have the histogram, and normally, if you see this kind of histogram in any form, you know this is a number distribution. This is a number since it has a bell shape. So this is a number distribution, and yeah, scatter plots and whatnot. So depends on what you actually prompt, whatever generative AI model you're using. And you could have analysis that are a bit more sophisticated, or it all depends on your octogenarian scale. So in this case now, what we do next, before we get back down to the manual part, is to click on export. So click on export. So I also take this and just call this analysis report in this case. And then I'll just click on OK to have that exported. So now we do have that exported. And yeah, what we did now is just create this chapter 4, right? So what I'll do here is that, okay, depending on how your school at school guidelines on using generative AI, some schools tend to frown upon it, but yeah, still regardless, you could actually gain maybe some form of guidance on how to go about it. But given that the data is actually collected by you and analysis performed, I don't really see an issue with that. So in this case, what I'll just do here is to just take this, the tree, I just upload this to one here, the project and this analysis report, the PDFs. So I'll just say something like placeholders for the images and sites tables. Okay, actually you can go ahead and write what you want to write, but frankly I think I'll just go with this. Okay, this guy is trying to create a document, which I don't want it to create documents. I want it as plain text instead of it creating a document. Decided to iterate with the text being in chat. So it is taking a while. We just wait to actually fast forward this. Oh, okay. Thank you, bro. Let me just cancel this. Okay, so it is kind of significant, and yeah, I think we can undo what we have here from this part. So just take it here and bold it and have it pasted. Then you can actually go ahead um, and fix what you have to fix and insert what you want to insert. So just take this out. So for instance, you say there are placeholders here in this insert table. So yeah, we can just insert the table for frequency. In this case, maybe I know we can actually copy uh, charts. Well, let me see if we can actually copy table as well. Okay. Let me just copy it and come here, paste it here. Okay, yeah. So you can actually paste the table. Then we can make it a bit scientific nature. So normally in the sciences, you have to remove the borders and then give the border only for this top part here. So give it a top border and also give it um, bottom border of the sort. Yeah, I think this is also part of the table, so I think I'll just delete this row. So yeah, something of this sort. And maybe just make this, yeah, something of this sort. And then you can go ahead and do the same thing for the rest. For the rest. So the other placeholders you can actually check out here. You have this table. You have this table. All you have to do is just copy and get it to replace what we have here. And the places we have placeholders for what the name for images, and that's because I actually instructed the model. Okay, leave space like for placeholders, put placeholders, which is very important. Else, the model could actually just write things just in a full form without it actually putting a place for you to insert the the images. So yeah, so this is just about how you can actually go to finalize, let's say, the chapter 4 of your project, and you can review. And I don't think this should actually take much of your time if you are using this method, maybe perhaps just within 1 to 2 hours, you should have this part set out. So now, given that we are done with this part, I'll just let us just go through this syntax from scratch. Let's say just seeing how it works so that if you run into an issue, you actually know what to fix and how to go about debugging errors on your end. So in this case, to actually create a syntax is very, very simple. The syntax comes in two forms. We have the procedure and we have the transformation. Now, if you go back to the syntax we just ran, you discover that most of them don't have this execute at the end. Most don't have execute at the end. Now, those ones without the execution, like the one that creates those tables, like the descriptive statistics, the graphs, and those other forms, which were actually called procedures. And why the ones with executes are more of like transformations. And again, this thing could actually be done manually For instance, if you want to like transform, you go to transform. There are other things you can do here, recode, compute variable, and other stuff. You want to analyze, you go to analyze. You have all these options that you can actually do manually. So I don't know which one feels right for you. Uh, it all depends on what you want to do. Now you can see that the code we just run has actually dictated this label. This wasn't here initially, right? And these values weren't here initially. So the syntax we ran actually did all of this, which is cool. So right now, let's look at something. Now, for instance, let's say we want to create a new column here, and we want to call this column. I'm coming. Let me just. Okay. Now, let's say we want to create a new column here, and we want to call this column sleep hours to GPA ratio. Now, one way we can actually do that is to go to transform, click on compute variable, and write study hours to GPA ratio. And then we can just come here, we'll drag where's the study hours again. Okay, we click study hours, we'll drag this here and say divided by the GPA. There, we can actually run this. If you want to use functions like mean, you can go to the statistical, you can pick out a function. We'll get back to that shortly, please. So, but for now, let's just run this, okay? You run this, is execute, so you can see the syntax here. Anything you run in SPSS has its syntax. But if you do it manually, you won't have to write the syntax. But SPSS still translates what you just did into the syntax. Now, we have this. I'll close this and you can see we have the new column here, right? So yeah, and if you take your calculator and you take 17.5 divided by 3.10, you should have this. You take 22.2 divided by 3.26. I think you should have this, right? Maybe let's try that. We have something of this sort. We have 17.5 divided by 3.10. We have 5.65. So that's right. So we use this transform compute variable to create a new column that is based on like new variable that is based on two variables. So let's say, for instance, we want to like I don't know what to call this, but let's say there's a variable that is the mean of these three things here. So we go here again, transform, we compute variable, we call it let's say we call it mean. I don't know what to call it, but I just call it mean three variables. We come here, you take this mean here, we have it here. Then inside of this place, we can put something like where's the study hours? Yeah, weekly study hours. Exam score. And we have the GPA. I don't know what kind of variable it is, but just to illustrate, something like that. Then we click OK. So this get executed. You can see we have a new column here, right? So yeah, now this is what we're doing now can actually be done using syntax. So I just go through it within just the next 10 minutes and then we're done with this. So now the syntax is very simple. As you can see here, you just type compute, the new variable, then your calculation, then execute. Now it must necessarily be compute. The other commands you can use depending on what you're doing. For instance, I have the list of commands. If you have gone through it, I shared this PowerPoint on the classroom. If you've gone through it, you actually see these commands, and yeah, they can actually make use of. So that is like create a new column. So go to this compute here, just remove everything we have here. Now let's say we have let's say we want to call it the mean of okay, let's call it study hours to GPA ratio. And now given this, that'll be what? That'll be study hours, right? Divided by GPA. Once we have this, you always end it with what? Executes if it's a transformation. So we have this. Now if you look here, we don't have this. This is the columns we have here, right? This place is empty. So we run this, and that gets executed. If we come back here, you can see, right? We have a new column based on what we just did. Now, that's for that. And you can actually do something like compute monthly salary. Let's say you have a salary column, and you can say salary divided by 12. It takes each of the row divided by 12 and creates a new it takes each cell on the salary column and divide it by 12 to create a new cell under the monthly salary variable. Now, anything you put here gets created automatically for you, so it doesn't have to exist already in the SPSS. So now let's say, what about if we want to like perform some kind of configuration? So let's say we want to like we have a rule that says, okay, if the ratio here is greater than 5, we call the user passed. Okay, if the ratio here is greater than 5, we say passed, and if it's less than 5, we say failed. So the syntax is very simple. You have your if, okay, and then you put your condition inside of a bracket. Then you put what? The new variable and then the value, then execute. So I just copy this here. I'll copy this and paste it yeah. So let's say I call this if the study hours to GPA ratio is greater than 5.0, I'll say passed 1. Then let me copy this and execute a new one. I'll make it 0. I'll make it less than or equal to 5. So I have this. Then okay. Sorry. There's an issue here which let's see if this works out. Okay, that worked, and then if we check here, we can see the new variable here. So this is greater than 5, we have 1. This less than 5, less than 5, less than 5, we have this. Then let's say we wanted to like put in two conditions. Let's go back to the syntax. Let's say we would have said something like then you put or in between here, you say or this, or it's equal to 5, or it can be and. So when it's and, you're trying to say, okay, these two conditions from year to year, from year, and this part must be true. But if you use all, either of them, yeah, truth table. So we run this, and everything gets executed. And then if we check here, yeah, that's cool. This is how you run a syntax for the if, and you can go through here. You can run for if statements with all condition and condition. We just did for the all condition and condition. And this thing is actually crucial when you're trying to like remove outliers. Let's say you already calculated the IQR, the interquartile range, and you want to remove values that are outside this the Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. You want to remove the values that are above that. I want to remove the values that are below the Q1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range. You want to remove the values that are below that. You can actually use this if statement to actually do that and set these values to missing variables. So using what sys miss. So actually you can do recoding. For instance, let's say we want to like recode. Let me show you how to do this manually. For instance, let me see what we can record here. Okay, let's record this faculty here. So to record faculty, let's say we want to make anytime this tree shows to HTM. Okay, look, anytime 4 shows to HTM, you can go to transform. If you want it in a new column, you can use this. In the same column, you can use this. So let's use same variables here. So I'll take in what's the name? The faculty of study. Put it here, and then we set the old value. So the old value should be 4. Then the new value should be okay. I think that's because we set it as numeric. So I can really type in some text here. So that's the issue in this case. So just cancel this. But let's say we want to like, let me take this out. So let's say we want to like change these, what's the name? These weekly study hours. We put it here. Then we have this. We can't even get just an exact amount here, but it's like 16. And then we want to say, okay, anytime the 16 appears to make it a missing value, let's assume 16 is an outlier. Let's use it like 22.6. It's an outlier. Anytime it appears, you can actually make it missing. And then in this case, we have it here. You add it. So in this case, if we run it, and then we click on OK, that gets executed. You can see, right? Anyway, this the value we choose up here actually become a missing value, so it got removed. So this can actually be done using the syntax as well. So for instance, if we want to like make the gender or the gender, I want to give them labels, we can actually use the recode syntax. In this case, we come here. We say, okay, now what does this mean? It means that, okay, anywhere we see 1, we recode this to 1, which, yeah, is still basically still the same thing. We recode 2 to 2, which is still basically the same thing. And then we give it a label. So let's say I take 1 to like 3 and 2 to like 4. Then I say, okay, let's for the female, let 3 be male. Then we run this. If you look here into this column for gender, you see we have a new column here, which anywhere there's 1 for the gender. Now if you look here, anywhere there's 1, we have a 3 there, and anywhere there's 2, we have what? We have female. And also we give it a label. We also come here, we have the label for it for, well, it's a code. We have, the values, the values label. We have the values labels for it. Yeah. So this stuff actually given in the syntax here. We give the value some labels. If it's tree, we make it, if it's four, we make it female. If it's tree, we give it male. So now, how do you filter in using the syntax in SPSS? You can actually do it in two ways. If you want to make it temporarily or you want to make it like permanent. So if we're to do this using the graphical interface, let's go back to this place here. Let's say you want to make it, want to do it graphically. Let's say you want to like remove all the female gender, that's 1 1 1 1. Want to take this out. Now, one thing about SPSS is that when you filter, it does not take it out. No, normally if you're using it as well and you filter, it rearranges the screen for you, right? Then you have some sort of icon here, But in SPSS, when you filter, you only have the this part of the screen here being striked out. So let's do that. And in SPSS, you use cases to do that. So if we go to we go to data, then you scroll down to select cases. You can see it here, select cases. So let's say we want to like filter out the data set by the gender. So how do we do that? Now, put an if condition here. If condition. So we want to say if. So click on this. Now, what is the condition I want to say? We want to say the gender. Where is the gender? This gender record. I think it has a new. Okay, what is your gender? So you have the gender here. I'm going to say if the gender is only equal to 1. So this is our condition, right? So put okay. Now once we do this, we filter out all the unselected cases, or if we like, we can create a new data set for the selected cases. That is only the female data could actually be created in a new data set. So click on OK. Then we have this done. Then where we click on this place, you can see, right? We have this striked out. Now, don't get frightened. Any analysis you perform won't be using these ones. They won't be using these rules. For instance, let's say we create a frequency table now. We come here, we create frequencies. We put this one here. We create a chart. That's a bar chart. And we have this. Okay. So you can see only the male is showing, right? Despite the female still being here. The female still, but because they've already been striked out here, they won't appear or take part of an analysis we are doing. So they won't appear in an analysis we're doing. So that's why they get striked out. So that's how you filter in SPSS. So let's unfilter this. We go back to data. We select cases, and then we say all. We want all of our data. So filter off, use all, execute. That's the syntax, and then we have our data back here. Okay, so that's how you filter. Now, how do you do this? Do this with the syntax. Use what? Use this filter here. Okay, so let's say we want to perform what we just did. We can just use the syntax here. So let's say we want to select just the genders, the gender that are female. So we create a variable for it. So this variable, let's call it, let's say if the gender is equal to 1. So we filter by this, then we execute this. Then when we check it, you can see that the female part gets, the male part gets strike that because okay, we're only selecting the male parts from the condition we gave to it. So basically what you did with data coming here and going back could actually be achieved by what? By running the syntax. And we can actually turn that off by running filter off execute. And if you recall, you must have seen this already when we turn off the filter. So we go back here, just select this part and run this part. So we have that executed. Then we come here, we no longer have the filter again. So these are these I think you should get the idea right now is that anything you can actually do manually with SPSS can actually be automated using the syntax. And let's say if you want to like permanently remove a what's the name, a row from the data set, you can use select. To select automatically like removes it for you. So let's say we want to remove some stuff permanently. We can run this. So let's say we come here. We want to remove something like all the female parts. So you can say gender. If the gender is equal to 1, that's equal to male. We'll only select this. We'll only select the male part. So we'll select the male part. We're on the sorry, I'm not being biased here. Just yeah, male, female, no issue. We're all together. So we have this, you can see here now, we're only having one, but this one around is permanent. It is not striked out. So because it's done using the syntax, I can't undo it. So you have to be careful while doing this. So that's for that part on filtering. We have other forms like missing values, which I wouldn't be able to like touch at the moment because okay, I don't really have much charge at the moment. So I like us to just round up things at this part. But let's look at this descriptive statistics. So let's say you're trying to like perform the bar charts we just did. Now let me show you a command we have here. So this sort of command that looks like this form, you have the command, you have the variable, then equal to something, and then you have the subcommand that starts with this kind of slash. So this is the way procedures work. So if we say something like this, you can see we have this main command here, and we have a sub command here. Now what this is saying is that okay, we want to like get the frequency of the department and gender, and then plot what a bar chart. So if we run this, okay, I think yeah, sorry, we have department in our data sets. So let's use something else like faculty. Sorry, it's in the faculty here. So this should work out. So we have the statistics, and we should have a bar chart. Yeah, the faculty, SPS, SLS, SICT, and HTM. Yeah. For gender, because I already removed the female parts, which I'm really sorry for doing that. We just have the male parts. So these are all other syntax you can look at to compute, to select, conditions, to recode, to sort, frequencies, descriptives. In fact, anything you can do in SPS has a syntax. So anytime you run a command, let's say manually, just look at the output screen. You see the syntax there. You can copy that and run it on your own, and everything works out. Sorry, I have to like end class here. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining yesterday, today, and even the first day when everything went a bit wrong. I just want to say thanks, and thanks to the organizers, Ms. Blessing, Ms. Manuela, Oladoto, and the rest of them. I really want to say thank you so much, and I'm really grateful. All right. I think I'll end it here. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Toby. Thank you for that amazing session. Um, do we have anybody that have question for Mr. Toby as regarding what he has taught us so far? Anybody? Jay, do you have any question? David, do you have any question? Anybody? Okay. So if we don't have any questions, then we will just call this a day. The recording is going to be, uploaded as usual on our YouTube channel, and you get access to it. So thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye.